All right, it's time for another M3 Army Lightweight Service Mask related video. But yeah, so today I thought I'd just do a redo video uh, of my M3 Army Lightweight Service Mask because I already did a video on the M3, but like I left out a lot of details, and yeah, I've learned more since then. So I thought I'd just do a redo video. Before we get any further into the video, I would just like to tell you that I am using my gaming headset microphone because I am going to be moving around in this video, just showing you guys the masks and like details. And if I were to not use a gaming headset, like my iPad, it has the microphone like directly attached to it. So like if I were to move away from my iPad, the sound would get more faded. If I were to get closer, the sound would get more loud. So yes, I am using my gaming headset microphone just so you guys can have a constant, clear audio. So yeah, with that out of the way, let's get right into the video. In early 1942, the U.S. Army wanted to replace the M2 service masks because the soldiers did not like carrying them around uh, due to the large profile on the body they took up, and with the mask, canister, and kit accessories combined, the mask weighed over just 5 pounds, and that was soon found to be quite uncomfortable when the soldier was trying to move around or add extra gear onto their body. In case you are unfamiliar with the M2 service masks, here is a M2A2 9A1 4A1 Army service mask. So yes, that is a M2 service mask. And as you can see, the canister, no, I'm sorry, as you can see, the carrier is pretty big, and that is to accommodate for the long hose and the large canister. So the canister would be housed in here, and the mask would be stored right here, and the 27-inch long hose would just fold up in here. So yeah, it took up a lot of space on the body. Another thing to note is that the M2A2 is just a pain in the ass to waterproof, so you have to tape off all the seams on the canister, and then you have to plug the inlet, and then you have to put two clamps on the hose, one here and one here. And if those were kept on too long, that would deform the hose. Before we get any further into the video, I should show you which masks are M3 Army Lightweight Service masks, because I showed you what an M2A2 looks like, but I still need to show you what an M3 looks like. So here is a early Class B gray M3 Army Lightweight Service mask, and here is a M3 Army Lightweight Service mask made out of neoprene. This is also an M3, but it's just an A1 variant, which I will get into that later because we are not quite there yet. Before the M3 Army Lightweight Service Mask was introduced, soldiers tried to find lighter weight alternatives to the heavier M2 service masks. One type of mask the US soldiers preferred over the M2 service masks were the training masks due to their low profile, low weight, and compactability. If you are unfamiliar with the US training masks, I have one right here, but it is not your average M1A1 training mask. I believe this is a M1A1-1-1 training mask with the E20R20 canister. Yeah, this face piece is pretty hard to find on its own, but like the canister is like super rare. Like I'm really happy I got this mask in this configuration. So yeah, I believe this mask's official designation would be M1A1-E20R20-1. I'm very rusty on training gas mask info, so you're going to have to forgive me. But yeah, this facepiece uses a E41 R81 mold by Goodyear. It was made by Goodyear in 1940. The month is really messed up. I can't see that. I think this, yeah, 740 by Goodyear. And yeah, contrary to popular belief, God, I cannot speak today. The facepiece is not made out of reclaimed tire rubber. It's actually just made out of black natural rubber, which in my opinion, the black does look a bit cooler than the gray. And yeah, the E20R20 canister is definitely a bit smaller than your average M1 training canister. The M1 training canister looked pretty similar to these canisters right here. I'll get into that in a moment. But yeah, definitely smaller E20R20 canister with the olive green paint just looks really cool in my opinion. But yeah, off topic. Moving on. So after many issues with the M2 service masks and the soldiers trying to find lighter weight alternatives, the M3 Army Lightweight Service Mask was finalized in late 1942. The early stages of production of the M3 saw a lot of problems in procuring face pieces, crimping of the eyepieces, and the assembly of both its M10 canister and its M6 carrier. Another issue was the installation of the oral nasal cup within the mask. This piece had to be vulcanized in place. To fix this problem, Firestone Rubber Company developed a machine that vulcanized the oral nasal cup in place automatically, which greatly sped up the production of the M3. The M3 Army Lightweight Service Mask did not see mass production until mid 1943 when most of its problems had been worked out. During the period of problems of the M3, the M4 Army Lightweight Service Mask also came into production and was finalized in late 1942 to satisfy the Army's immediate need for Army Lightweight Service Masks. So as I previously stated, the M3 was finalized in late 1942 and the M4 was finalized in late 1942. I'm not exactly 100% sure on the months, but obviously the M4 came after the M3. So yeah. By the autumn of 1943, the M3 Army Lightweight Service Mask replaced all other non-lightweight service masks on the assembly line. Early M3 masks were made out of natural Class B gray rubber. However, the loss of the Pacific Islands to the Japanese caused a shortage of rubber supplies. A synthetic rubber program was started in the spring of 1943 to find a good alternative to produce M3 masks out of. 3 new materials were tested: butyl, neoprene, and styrene. All the new materials were tested, and butyl performed surprisingly well, but in the end, neoprene was chosen to be the new synthetic rubber to be molded into M3 face pieces. The fact that neoprene was chosen instead of butyl is kind of odd considering that butyl holds up much better than neoprene in harsh weather conditions. When neoprene is exposed to temperatures at or below 0 degrees, the mask, or just neoprene, cold sets, meaning the mask gets really stiff and the mask cannot flex, making it very difficult to don. Another thing to note is that the canister of the M3 determined the mask's proper designation. Early M3s with a M10 canister were designated M3-106. Later M3s, such as M3s made in 1944 and 1945, had a M10A1 canister, and the M3s during the time of the Korean War also had M10A1 canisters. Those were designated M3-10A16. So here we have an early M3 with an M10 canister. So M3-10-6, that's the designation for the carrier, M6. So this would be M3-10A1-6. In the late stages of World War II and during the time of the Korean War, some M3 Army Lightweight Service Masks as well as some M4 Army Lightweight Service Masks received an upgrade, to which their M8 outlet valves were replaced by a C15 outlet valve. Now, that was a pretty big upgrade because the C15s the C15s are overall just better than the M8s because they provide much better protection, and the valve is protected by this rubber piece here instead of this plastic grate. The Army Lightweight Service Masks continued to be used until the summer of 1961 when they were declared obsolete. Okay, so early Army Lightweight Service Mask kits would include two cover protective individuals that are wrapped in cellophane. These are pretty hard to find, so I'm very fortunate to own 2. But then later, Army Lightweight Service Mask kits, I think, starting in mid-1943, the cellophane wrapped cover protective individuals were replaced by these foil and canvas wrapped ones, which these are basically just trash bags that keep blister agents off your skin, just keep liquid gas off your skin and stuff like that. Lightweight kits would also be given M1 eye shields. Some instructions. If you want to read it, just pause the video. So yeah, M1 eye shields. I have a very beaten up pair here I got for almost nothing. So yeah, you just put these on and they would keep liquid gas from getting in your eyes. You're not supposed to throw that on during a chemical attack. You're supposed to have it on beforehand. So then you still have a, you know, gas on your skin and stuff like that. So you'd use this M4 ointment kit, which contains one tube of just decontamination like cream, I guess, and then you take out the tube, open it, and then rub the decontamination stuff all over your areas of exposed skin. But in case you did get the blister agents in your eye, or just the liquid gas, you'd break this open, BAL, and you squirt that into your eyes to decontaminate your eyes. And I think it was late World War II, and during the time of the Korean War, the M6 carriers were given a bigger pocket to house a M5 ointment kit instead of an M4. I do not have an M5, I have an M5A1, which was used during the time of the Korean War and early stages of Vietnam, so it's fine, I guess. So yeah. The M5A1 contains 3 tubes of the decontamination cream stuff, and 1 tube of BAL, and 1 injector. Which here, BAL would go right there. There are the 3 tubes of skin decontamination, and in that tube right there is your injector. So basically, if you got exposed to nerve agents, nerve agents get absorbed into your body pretty quickly. So yeah, that would just counter that. So you'd open the tube and inject yourself with some kind of compound that would make you last a bit longer until you could get like proper help and stuff. And here we have an anti-dim stick in here. I'm not going to open it because it's rusted shut. But yeah, basically that would just have a cloth with a compound on it, and you'd rub it onto your eye lenses of the of your mask to keep it from fogging up. Even though the mask has an oronasal cup, it still can fog up a little bit, which is kind of annoying. So yeah, and you'd also have a C3 waterproofing kit. This is a later one, but yeah, like I was saying, waterproofing kits are pretty annoying to put on the M2A2. So they came up with this thing that only required a little bit of tape. So there's less seams on this M10 canister than this M91. So you just have to apply a little bit of tape. Instead of applying 2 clamps, you would only apply 1 to the hose and 1 to plug your filter. So yeah, a much more effective waterproofing kit. Now, a lot of people ask me what's the difference between an M4 and an M3. I'm not going to go too deep into the history of the M4 because that's an entirely different video, but I will show you the differences between an M3 Army Lightweight Service Mask and an M4 Army Lightweight Service Mask. Let me just take the masks off their styrofoam heads real quick, just off camera. Okay, here is an M4 Army Lightweight Service Mask. As you can see, there's a rifle skid right there, and the strap is right here. That rivet's right there. But on the M3 Army Lightweight Service Mask, just slight differences. As you can see, there is no rifle skid, and the rivet, or tab if you will, is moved all the way back. So yes, most of the M3s you will see are made out of black neoprene, so that's pretty easy to tell them apart from the M4s, because M4s are, gray. But still, it's good to double check to see where your tab is on the facepiece. I am going to do a separate video on the M4 Army Lightweight Service Mask, but here's just a fun fact. The M4 Army Lightweight Service Mask is actually just made from an M2A2. So an M4 Army Lightweight Service Mask still has the M2A2's facepiece, but it has an oral nasal cup installed and a M7 head harness. An M7 head harness is just this thing with the triangle pad on the back. But the M2A2's hose is 27 inches long, and it has a M9A1 canister. The M4, the 27-inch lows. God, I cannot speak. The 27-inch long hose was cut from 27 inches to 18 inches and given a lighter M10 canister. Alright, now I'm going to go into detail about the components of the M3. Alright, before we get any further into the video, I would just like to say that off camera I have taken the liberty to put back all of the non-M3 gas masks back on my display shelf because I will no longer be talking about non-M3 gas masks. I'm just going to be talking about the M3s more in depth. I mean, not the history, I already covered that. I'm just going to be talking about like the components and the features and the materials of the mask and just, going into details about that stuff. So yeah, let's get right into it. Okay, here we have my early M3. Here's the facepiece. The facepiece designation is M3, and the facepiece is made out of a natural Class B gray rubber. Here we have the M8 outlet valve, and here we have the M3 Class B gray rubber hose, and here we have the M10 canister with the remnants of the waterproofing tape on it. So this whole mask's designation would be M3-106. The middle mask is also an M3, so the facepiece designation is M3, but the facepiece itself is made out of neoprene. And here we have an M8 outlet valve, same as that mask over there. And here we have a M3 neoprene corrugated hose, and here we have an M10A1 canister. Here we have an M3A1 with a M3 facepiece, once again made out of neoprene. Then here we have the C15 outlet valve, which adds the A1 onto the designation. I will get to that in just a moment. And here we have the M3 neoprene corrugated hose, and then back there we have the M10A1 canister. So that mask's designation is M3A1-10A16. Now let's talk about the M10 canister and the M10A1 canister. Starting off with the M10 canister, the general principle is like that of the M9A1 canister with radial airflow. If you are having trouble visualizing this, I pulled up a picture of the canister just for reference. This is an M10A1, but M10s and M10A1s are pretty closely related, so this will do. The particulate layer of the M10 canister is asbestos impregnated paper. The amount of asbestos is up to 10%. So what they found out was when they mixed asbestos with paper, it made a very good particulate filter, so that's why it was used. The absorbent, the part that actually absorbs the gases, not the particulate, is 275 milliliters of type ASC charcoal. Type ASC charcoal is charcoal that's been impregnated with copper, silver, and chromium. I believe earlier M10 canisters had type AS charcoal, which was just charcoal impregnated with copper and silver. When I say earlier M10 canisters, I mean M10 canisters that were produced before mid-1943, when most of the problems with the M3 and the M10 canister had been sorted out. So in mid-1943, the M10 canisters stopped using type AS charcoal, which was just charcoal impregnated with copper and silver, and they started using type ASC charcoal, which was charcoal impregnated with copper, silver, and chromium, which was even more effective, so they started using that. Now on to the M10A1 canister. The outer size and general construction is the same as the M10, the only difference being the size of the chemical container, which holds 340 milliliters of type ASC charcoal. The gas protection is much greater than that of the M10. The weight is about 500 grams. After the introduction of the M10A1 model, no more M10 canisters were manufactured. And when the M10A1 canisters started being produced, I believe it was late 1943 or early 1944. I'm not too sure on that, but I do know that the M10A1s completely replaced the M10s. I mean, the M10A1s replaced the M10s, meaning like the M10s stopped being produced, but they were still used in some quantities. But then, yes, as time goes on, more M10A1s were produced, and then the M10s were completely replaced, meaning they were no longer manufactured and they were no longer used. So the M10A1 canister was attached to a lot of the Army lightweight service masks, and the Army lightweight service masks were declared obsolete in the summer of 1961, as I previously stated. But the M10A1s continued to be used after that because they were such an effective filter. They were just put on different masks, such as the M14, and then the M14A1, and the M25, and the M24, and stuff like that. Unfortunately, I do not have any M24s or M14s to show you, so yeah. Now I would like to talk a little bit about the M6 carriers. After this, I will wrap this video up because this video is going on for quite a while now. And if you have managed to stick around for this long, then I congratulate you. Okay, off camera, I have taken the liberty to fully pack one of my M6 carriers with my early M3 Army Lightweight Service Mask and its kit. So as you can see, two of the front pockets are to hold the two covered protective individuals. The middle pocket is supposed to hold the open covered protective individual, except, my early M3 kit has the cellophane wrapped one, so there's no way in hell I'm going to open that. So the pocket to the far left is to hold the ointment kit, and your C3 waterproofing kit is just supposed to be wrapped around the stem of your canister, or just at the bottom of the bag, or just whatever. But, most commonly it's seen tied to the stem of the canister, so that way you can just untie it and plug up your filter. And your M1I shields are just supposed to go somewhere in the carrier. I have found that the most convenient place is just right where you see them, because that's where there's space. So yeah. Talking a bit more about the M6 carriers. So the M6 carriers, the earlier ones, were just made out of that canvas material that you can see right there. But I think starting in early 1944 or just very late 1943, the M6 carrier started being produced out of a OD7 fabric material. But I believe some of the earlier M6 carriers were dyed OD7, but most of them were just made out of an OD7 fabric. And yeah, it's just something interesting to note. Alright, so here's the M7 head harness, just something I thought I'd show you. I know this video just keeps going, it will not end. It's almost over, I promise. But yeah, here's the M7 head harness. The M4 head harness that came before it was literally just this, except without that triangle pad. So just the straps making a weird triangle-like shape on the back, but not exactly. But then the M7 just had this triangle pad sewed onto it, as far as I'm aware. So yeah, I think I've covered pretty much everything. So yeah, something I forgot to tell you is that if you look inside the mask and you fold back the oral nasal cup, you will see a GRM stamp thing right there. So yeah, that just tells you that your M3 face piece is made out of neoprene. But yeah, not all M3 face pieces that are made out of neoprene have that GRM. But yeah, that's just another thing to note. And the last thing I just want to show you is that I have folded my M3s in the way they're supposed to be packed in the carrier. So that early M3, it's kind of hard to see how it's folded, so I just folded that neoprene M3 up there to show you what it's supposed to look like folded inside of the carrier. So when you pull your mask out, the hose fully extends. I guess I can show you how to don an M3 right now. I guess we got some time left. Okay, so I'm going to be donning my M3 121.6 Army Lightweight Service Mask. I know I could have just donned one of my other M3s, but I want to don my M3 one because, it's my video, I can do whatever the hell I want. Okay, and this same donning principle applies to this. It just has a C15 outlet on it. It's fine. So what you're supposed to do is open the flap, pull out the mask, put your thumbs in between the two head harnesses, roll up the straps, grab up above the eyepieces, pull your chain to the mask, pull the straps over, adjust it to your face, clear the mask, and pressure check, and you're good to go. These straps on my M7 head harness aren't that elastic, so I have to leave them a tiny bit loose and then put it on, and then tighten them a little bit. So I'm gonna add one extra step, but it's fine. Okay, so here we go.
take off the mask, you squat close to the ground, sniff gently, clear the mask. If you smell anything, clear the mask and wear it, and keep wearing it. If you don't smell anything, clear the mask and then take it off.
So yeah, that's the end of the video. Hope you guys liked it. If I left anything out, I will correct myself in the comments or description. But if I completely left something out, or just gave false information, just correct me in the comments below. If I don't correct it myself, but yeah. Thank you for watching. I'll see you all later. Goodbye.